In a world overrun with an infinite amount of multiverses, originating from a plethora of sources, four longtime friends band together to try to make sense of it all and present it to an audience in an easy-to-digest podcast. This is Geeking Off the Page.
Welcome, fellow geeks. My name is Troy Bowman, and I'm Batman.
And I'm Mike Kitchen, and I'm Batman.
And I'm Trevor Brown, and I'm Batman. Rachel!
I'm Gavin, and I'm Batman. Welcome to Geeking Off the Page, a podcast by a group of friends from college from the early 90s. Yes, we are that old. We talk about nerdy shit. Nothing but nerdy shit. Comics, anime, science fiction, whatever it is. If it's nerdy, we talk about it. Over to you, Troy.
All right, so this is particularly episode 22 of our podcast. We've been at this for quite a little while, and it's kind of fun to culminate at this time of the year. So this episode is actually going to be released on the 11th of October, 2021. So those in the far future, this is how far back this episode was released. So like every single episode, we're going to start off with the basics of every single person's geekdom is the coming attractions. And we have a few clips and a few trailers and even a fan film to actually talk about as something that just came out new. So we're going to start off with the anime of Super Crooks, which is going to be released on Netflix on November 25th. If I remember correctly, the description, as whoever posted the link to this particular video had said, it's basically, there you go, Gavin. Tell us, Gavin, what is this?
It's basically Ocean's 11 meets supervillains. Pretty much that.
Yeah, it's a very hyper animation style. It's really, really cool. It looks like it's going to be a fun ride. Where's this from,
This
Gavin?
is another one from the Mark Miller universe. And I'm hoping that they don't fall into the Jupiter's Legacy territory of taking a great idea and fumbling it, trying to expand it into a gigantic series. What is this one? Is it just a movie or is it a series? Is it episodes?
I believe it's just a movie for this particular this outing. But I didn't realize it was from Mark. It was Mark Miller verse. So that's actually kind of neat. So it's like a Star Wars Vision sort of thing, but actually to something a little more solid because it's obviously Mark Miller's.
Yeah, because back when Mark Miller sold his remaining comic book catalog to Netflix, so anything that hadn't been made a movie already by another studio was gobbled up by Netflix. So this is one of the ones that falls into that territory.
Oh, that's actually kind of neat to find out. Oh, that's kind of cool. Do we have any research being done in the background right now if it's going to be a series or it's just a movie? I believe it's just going to be a movie. It's like, it looks like a single heist sort of thing going on in this, but again,
it's 13 episodes, 30 minutes long.
Oh, sweet. Okay, that's cool. All right, so even better. So
somehow they pulled that from 4 comics.
Right, so we may be falling into the Jupiter's Legacy thing again, where it's like, hey, this is a great story. Let's pad it out for...
Because it's filler.
Put on your swim goggles, put on your floaties, and prepare to wade through all the filler to get there.
But then again, it is an anime style, so they're pretty good at stretching out a storyline to still, like, all about that sort of thing, don't you, Mike?
Two guys talking.
Yeah, exactly.
5 minutes of recap, yeah.
Or a Dragon Ball fight lasts 5 episodes.
Exactly, yeah.
Yes. Most of it being a recap of the last episode. The last episode, nothing happened.
All right, so so that being said, looking forward to this. The animation looks really cool. Right now, everything is all original language, so it looks like it's going to be subtitled, which is kind of cool. I actually did go back and see a couple of the back to the Star Wars Visions from last time. I did go back and watch a couple of the ones that I really liked with the original voices and all that, reading the subtitles and all that. it had a cooler feel to it. I mean, it also helped that I knew what the story was to begin with. So, I mean, it made it a little easier to understand, but yeah, it still was kind of cool with that sort of thing. But this looks like original language with subtitles so far as it is. But then again, so did Star Wars Visions. It sounded like everything was original language. And then, oh, look, we got Neil Patrick Harris to be one of the twins. So anyways, the next thing that we have on our docket is something that dropped on YouTube actually this week, I believe, actually on the 1st of October. And that is a fan film called Immortal 65, Iron Fist. Now, anyone else want to take the lead on this one? Because I actually just recently saw it, so I didn't have any time to really sink it in. All I can say is it looked really cool.
I did a bit of a dive on it. Second I saw it, I watched the behind the scenes featurette they had. This is done by a group called Rogue Origin Films, and they got some pretty impressive stunt work done. But they also said, they were practicing in a park. Like the fight between the three ladies was originally practiced as the main character fighting against the director in a park, and the director was playing like all three roles. Until they could hire the appropriate stunt people to be in the various roles. Sometimes they would have a couple of days to practice fight. Sometimes it was not really impromptu, but they had like less than an hour to figure out what they were going to do with the fight. But they did a damn impressive job. And this is what happens when you have people who are passionate about what they're doing and know the material for the biggest thing. Like I see stuff like this. I mean, this whole film is 8 minutes long or less. It's actually, I think it's like just over 7 minutes. And this was better than the entire run of Iron Fist on Netflix and Defenders. Like, it was just, if these guys can do it in 7 minutes, what the hell is Netflix wasting money on? Or what did they waste the money on? Like, again, I also
want to thank Corridor Crew for the bunch of videos that I've been watching and all that. Their breakdowns of martial arts thing, you can actually see all the influence that I didn't realize before, that thanks to Corridor Crew, I can recognize in other people's work. And these people definitely have a love for the art of this Kung Fu style filmmaking, and it definitely shows.
It came up on my feed and I was like, oh, what's this? And when I watched it, I was just like, and I'm just going to hit the rewatch button again, and I'm going to hit the rewatch button again, and this time I'm going to pause in a couple of places. And yeah, it's impressive film work, it's impressive stunt work, and they told a story in 7 minutes. They told a better story than Netflix did over how many minutes of how long, wasting our time.
Yeah. And so the guy who's playing Iron Fist in this is Christian Howard. He's the same guy who played Ken in the Street Fighter Assassin's Fist, which was originally released on YouTube, and we talked about that last week. And as soon as that Street Fighter movie came out, I was thinking, man, why do they not hire this guy as Iron Fist? Because he's got the exact look. He's a proper martial artist and a stunt man, and he's already proven himself that he can do this kind of thing with what he did in Street Fighter. And then when they hired Game of Thrones dude who didn't want to practice his martial arts, and like he just made a joke of the entire series. And so this Christian Howard, I followed him on Facebook. Like, after seeing the Street Fighter, I wanted to know who all these stuntmen were that were able to make such an epic story. So I've been following them along, and he just posted an image of, I think it was just the Iron Fist mask. It's like, oh, no way, are they actually going to do this? And they did. And I like the fact that, what's the guy's name? It's not the Danny Rand. It's the other dude with the two guns. He's someone else.
Orson Randall.
Yeah. So it's even neat that they didn't take the Danny Rand character because it's already been done. So it's like, okay, let's do the next iteration of the character, since the other one's already been cast. So we'll do our own thing with our own character. And Kevin Feige, if you don't hire this guy, I don't know what you're thinking. Because it would be so fun to have a Kung Fu movie or show or whatever you want to do, but with a guy who can actually do Kung Fu. Like,
okay,
that's what I want.
So what you're saying is the Orson character version of Iron Fist actually also uses guns as well, right?
Yeah, he uses it.
Okay, so this is
and-
actually based on a pre-existing character sort of thing, not the one that they
Yeah.
decided to make up on their. Oh, that's kind of cool.
That's right.
This was the Iron Fist from the golden age of Marvel.
No, I see. Okay, cool. Again, not being really up on Iron Fist to begin with, is kind of neat to see that this is actually plucked from something. Oh, you know what? As you said, Golden Age, I'm like, wait, I think I did read something in the little description of Golden Age. And yes, as I'm watching, as it comes to the end, I'm like, okay, it's almost time to do the podcast. And all of a sudden, the little thing on YouTube pops up. Hey, do you want to see the behind the scenes video? I'm like, oh, I don't have time to watch the behind the scenes making of stuff. So I'm definitely going to go back and looking at that. And that was definitely a very pleasant surprise. And like I said, I just finished watching it just before we started recording. So did you get to see it there, Gavin?
I did not have a chance. No.
All right.
Oh, Gavin.
Well, we didn't spoil anything because it's just beautifully done. Do yourself a favor when you get a chance to. Anyone listening to this, do yourself a favor. Go onto YouTube, and it's just basically listed as what we said. It's basically listed as Immortal 65, an Iron Fist live action short film.
Then after you watch it, go tell Kevin Feige to hire these guys.
Exactly. And like Trevor said, it's only like 8 minutes long. The whole thing is 8 minutes long from start to finish. Like the actual storytelling is, you take out the credits.
And I think there's going to be a second episode coming.
Oh, really? Well, I hope so. Yeah. That would be fantastic.
I hope so.
Definitely looking forward to that. So that's kind of cool.
When you say the 8 minutes of this is better than the entire Netflix, series, that's kind of that's a very good thing in my book. So that's got me kind of very, very intrigued by it. So I'll definitely.
I thought you were going to say wiping your butt's better than the entire Netflix series of.
It was honestly like of all the four Netflix series, Iron Fist was the worst of the four.
It depends on what I had for dinner.
It was still
good point. Touche.
Don't you mean 2-ply?
Hopefully 3.
3-ply.
Hopefully 3. Yeah, depending on what you eat. All right. So the next thing we have.
Good night, folks.
Good night, folks. Collective goodbye. The next thing we have is an offering from HBO Max. And that is a clip from the upcoming Peacemaker series, which we don't actually have an actual physical date, but we do know that it's going to be in January of 2022. So it is coming soon. We just don't actually have a full thing. And so basically this is what it is. It's a clip from the upcoming things. We see a bunch of the characters that worked on the in the Office version of the Suicide Squad, keeping track of all the players involved.
You say the Office version. I'm thinking Ricky Gervais.
These are the people who were in the keeping track.
Marshall Wallace's team back home, keeping track of everyone and all that. And we see the two people that have been assigned to Peacemaker, and it's fantastic. It's Peacemaker still wearing his outfit, which is fantastic. A remark about him, like it's brand new, I got to stretch it in sort of thing. So that's why I'm wearing it sort of thing. And it's not an outfit, it's a uniform and whatnot. And he's also got
inspires freedom. It's a beacon of hope.
It's a beacon of hope, exactly.
And I have a pet eagle.
And what is the name of the pet eagle? Darn, I forgot what the name of the pet eagle was. Wasn't it like Eagly or something like that?
Yeah.
Because someone makes a joke about is your dog named Doggy? Yeah, it sounds like your daughter named it or something like that. But if this is just an inkling of what we're going to see, I can't wait to see more of this, because first of all, I loved John Cena in the Suicide Squad. He was fantastic, and
he just chewed up those scenes.
He was
glorious.
Yes.
That whole sequence of, is that an eagle in your backseat? I cherish peace with all my heart. I don't care how many animals I have to endanger to get it.
Exactly. Yeah. It just, yeah.
And then
just don't try wearing them when they come out the other end.
And white pants aren't conducive to lurking in the shadows.
Yeah. Now, one thing I hope happens with this series is that they bring Checkmate into it. I don't know if you guys ever read the Checkmate comic, but that was my introduction to Peacemaker. So anyways, if they are able to bring Checkmate into it somehow, because that would lend itself really well to a TV show, I would love to have that. Right? Just the superhero night characters with the gold and black suits. Like that would be such a great thing.
You need to see the uniform.
So yeah, I like the fact that they're keeping kind of. I mean, they're giving us teasers, but they're not going out of their way to spill out all the beans. Like, keep enough of it back to keep us interested. Which is
just that one sequence is enough to get my attention. What do you think, Troy?
Well, it's also the great thing because it's not a trailer. It doesn't reveal anything. We have no idea yet what's going on, which is, I'm sure, is James Gunn's idea to do this. Like, hey, these characters to begin with. Here they are interacting. This is what the world is going to be like, but you get no inkling of what the story is actually going to be, which is fantastic. I'm sure coming closer to January, HBO will definitely drop a trailer that shows all the environments there's going to show to a bunch of action sequences, a bunch of people getting killed by John Cena and whatnot. And
John Cena's a bad guy?
John Cena, no, he's not a bad guy. He's
a hero. He's a beacon of hope, Adrian.
He's a hero. He's a beacon of hope.
Then why is he killing people?
Sometimes
because people have to die for freedom.
Sometimes people have to die for freedom.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, there you go. She agrees. Yes, that's true. So there you go. All right.
The tree of liberty sometimes the roots need to be re-wet with the blood of patriots. Something like that.
Something like that. Yeah, that sounds about right.
I can't remember.
That sounds close enough, though. Yeah. All right. So the next
enough to get your American citizenship. I think you did good. You nailed that question.
With the American flag sitting in the background of the shot in his room. All right. So the next thing we're moving on to is HBO Max's next offering, which is coming out in 2022. Again, no actual date, a little more vague, more than likely, probably the later half, is House of the Dragon, which is the 200-year prequel to the Game of Thrones series. Now, what we have here is just a bunch of clips, a little bit of a voiceover trying to explain what the situation is. It's the time when there were dragons about, and it looks very Game of Thrones-ish. It doesn't, 200 years in this environment, you really can't tell there's much of a difference between whatever's going on.
But they had dragons, because they even mentioned in Game of Thrones that as time went on, the dragons got smaller and smaller and smaller. They got domesticated until they pretty much just disappeared. Indeed. I do like the fact that we're following House Targaryen. That being said, I do like the throne, how they all have those like all the extra swords kind of leading up.
That's right.
To it.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
Very interesting visual. But this is the problem for me for prequel series. How do you get around? We kind of know what the ending is. Like, we kind of know what happens to House Targaryen. Like, it's going to be an interesting journey, but it's still like saying, hey, we're going to take a trip, like telling your kids, we're going to take a trip and we're going to end up at grandma's house. Now, what happens between you leaving your house until you get to grandma's house? That's the story. But at the end of the day, you got to grandma's house. So some things they really can't, you can't sidestep. You can't be like, ooh, and then we didn't get to grandma's house. You do. At the end of the story, you have to still reach those marks.
When you're telling these kind of stories, like, you have to have some sort of unknown, because like Trevor's saying, we know where the story ends ultimately. So you need something else. Like, you have to introduce some other conflict that don't know the resolution to. Like, we know eventually these guys are going to take over Westeros, especially when you show the throne. Like, as soon as you see the Iron Throne, it's like, okay, we already know we're at that point in the story. So then, what is that captivating moment that will hook everybody on the series? And even though the trailer looks great, and I'm looking forward to seeing Doctor Who in Game of Thrones,
good old Matt Smith, yeah.
But at the same time, we've already seen what happens to Game of Thrones without George R. Martin at the helm. Right. So even though he has this rich tapestry of history and culture and all this other good literary stuff in the books, if they're not drawing from that, they can go bad pretty quickly. Like, it becomes a TV show. And I'm hoping he has enough, because I know he's done a whole bunch of other books where he's spelled out the whole Targaryen Empire history. Like, there's books on that. They can pull from that. Maybe they can salvage a series out of it. And I hope they can, because I love that universe. But I'm a little bit concerned, especially after Game of Thrones, the way those last few seasons ended. There's a lot of trepidation going into this.
So you're saying they could pull like a friggin' Lord of the Rings sort of Fellowship of the Rings, bring in all the extra stuff that wasn't in the original books, but in his supplementary books and all that sort of thing? Like, did
Yeah,
Martin...
because he's got books and books of history of stuff in the same way like Tolkien had the Silmarillion, and Amazon's going to try and turn that into a series. Like what do you do with that? I don't know. It's not
Right. I see. Yeah.
epic narrative. It's backstory. It's history. It's good stuff, but can you support a series from that? I guess
I was unaware that R.R. Martin had done extras like Tolkien had done in his universe.
Well, if you look at George R. R. Martin's, like all the books he's written, they occasionally tear the man away from his typewriter long enough to give an interview.
Yeah, and sometimes he doesn't want to work on the next song of, was it Fire and Ice or Ice and Fire?
Yeah, the song.
Either one. The next book that everyone's been waiting for 10 years. It's like he procrastinates by just writing novels of other things. It's like, okay,
Gotcha.
you wrote a whole other book of history, but
where's this main story? Gotcha. All right, and so the other thing that we also got just recently dropped for us was Netflix is returning to the Robinson family, and we're getting a third season of Lost in Space, the third and final season of Lost in Space, and that is going to be Robinson. And that is going to be completely dropped, all episodes on December 1st on Netflix. So I think, I mean, I'm a fan of the series. I mean, I was a fan of the original series. Again, it's campiness and all that, but the realistic feel of this future Robinson family, what happened in the first two seasons. Well, the first season alone is just enough to, and it ended on a friggin' cliffhanger that took forever to get to the second season. I'm like, no, because you didn't know at the time when after the first season ended, there was no mention of a second season, and then all of a sudden Netflix just all of a sudden, hey, here's season 2. I'm like, what? Yay, sort of thing. Yeah. So to finally get a third season after what, 5 years now that this is
third and final season.
Yeah, third and final season. So you get to wrap everything up, which is, I mean, it's good that they know it's the final, and hopefully it was written as the final, not like, you know what, no more after this sort of thing. Those are the worst. Those are the worst.
The last episode called Found in Space?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Found our way.
Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, I'm looking forward to this for sure, because like I said, the first two seasons I've really enjoyed. There's not many episodes, which is kind of cool. And it's one of those that they don't like sort of shoehorn in like basics, like advanced sci-fi. Everything seems legit. Everything comes naturally to the viewers of information of how I think that you don't get a lot of exposition. There's not a lot of like hitting over the head with hard sci-fi and all that, like some people do in certain series and all that. But this was a very enjoyable. I mean, if you just want to see some sort of, I mean, okay, sure, you have to be a sci-fi fan to enjoy this. I don't think non-sci-fi fans are going to enjoy this, but if you take away the sci-fi from it, it's a really cool family drama trying to get through this. And it's like the Swiss Family Robinson. It's a great telling of a classic tale, just with this sci-fi twist that has been around for, well, generations now because of the original TV series. And now the mid 2000s movie, which sort of tried to I mean, it had its moments. But, and then thankfully this Netflix series came out, and again, it's kind of unfortunate it's only going to be a third season, but hopefully it'll wrap up in a way that is very complementary to what we've already seen.
Yeah, because my family really enjoyed the first season. That was one of the most epic things on TV at the time.
That's true too. That's a good point too. Yeah, there wasn't a lot like that out there. Yeah.
Yeah, second season, I was starting to kind of wonder, like, sometimes when Netflix gets their hands on things, they start trying to push, their diversity or social justice or whatever. And I could feel a little bit of some of that creeping in, but overall, I thought second season was pretty darn good. Like, it held up, and I'm just hoping again they can land it for the ending. right? I like the fact that they've committed. It's like season 3, this is going to be it. If you can wrap it up and land it, then I think it's going to be one of the more epic Netflix television series.
In other words, you're saying Netflix stick the goddamn landing.
Yeah.
Well, that's the other thing too, is because Netflix loves that whole entire, okay, we'll get it for 2 seasons and then stop. Right. So, I mean, so the fact that this is getting up, because there was that, again, after the 2nd season, there was no prospect of a 3rd season. And then all of a sudden, wait, what? There's a 3rd season trailer? So it's good to see that they've stuck with it. And it looks, obviously, I'm pretty sure things are going to be put on a lot of delay nowadays because of the previous year of COVID and stuff. Probably this would have been out a year ago, sort of thing. But, you know, this sort of thing. The nice thing is there's a lot of practical effects in this series, which is another thing that I really like about it. I mean, the difference, like Robot itself is not only is it actually a physical, like animatronic that is in a lot of the shots, it seamlessly melts with a computer generated version of it. And it's seamless how this thing works together. And it's just,
it looks great.
Yeah.
And I love that they kept the danger, Will Robinson.
Well, when
that happened the first time, I was like, yes,
exactly.
Like,
I
you're
was
not
the exact
trying to
same
rewrite
way.
the whole thing.
Will Robinson.
I was doing the friggin' like pointing at the he said the thing.
I have to admit the whole series really grabbed me pretty hard. Amanda and I were both really into it, but what I really liked it was how organically they, as you were mentioning with the technology, how they just brought the robot in. It was a found robot, you know, advanced alien technology, but it was just so organic how they brought it in, and the evolution of the robot as well was really well done. I also really enjoyed how they sort of reimagined some of the things, like Dr. Smith being played by Posey Parker. I thought that's an ingenious way, and she's playing this psychotic, mastermind, like just basically the ultimate gaslighter for the entire ship, and she's playing it perfectly. You know she's all in it for herself. Sometimes she appears to be helpful, but eventually she's showing she's just doing it to get herself out of yet another jam.
Yeah,
She's
and then
just
you know
so
what, Gavin, like what
insidiously-
you're talking about that with her playing that role, because I'm always resistant to when they gender swap characters and do things like that. But if you're going to cast someone that plays the role so well, it's like, all right, you can have that one.
Yeah, no, Piper Posey has done a fantastic job. And the fact that she has made the Dr. Smith role her own, like like at the beginning, there was a little bit of the original TV sort of Dr. Smith in there, which is fantastic. I totally understand why they did that, but they allowed her to evolve the character, which the TV version of Dr. Smith would never have a chance to do, just because of the era that it was in. She made the character her own, and I mean, Piper is a fantastic actress to begin with. You rarely run into anything that she has not excelled well in as her role. I mean, dude, Josie and the Pussycats, she's fantastic in that movie. Friggin' which one of the she's isn't she like the secretary like in like the Ted Raimi Spider-Man movies? Isn't she like,
I have no idea.
I think she is. Isn't she like she's the right-hand man to Kevin Spacey in Superman Returns, and she's a huge point in that movie, sort of thing. So I mean, again, yay, more Piper Perabo as friggin' Dr. Smith. So yes, and again,
no, Parker Posey.
Whoops, sorry.
Did you guys know that?
We'll fix that in post.
When Posey Parker's Dr. Smith bumped into the Dr. Smith on the ship, that was actually played by the original Will Robinson.
Yes, I did know.
I didn't know that.
It was Bill Mummy.
Yeah.
I was like, wait a second, holy shit, that's the original Will Robinson.
Again, as I'm watching, I'm like, hey, that's the original Will Robinson. That's the original Will Robinson. And of course, Adrian's like, all right, whatever.
That was Amanda. She was just like, oh, huh, neat.
Exactly.
Neat.
Well, I learned something, so thank you, Gavin.
Click.
Well, actually, to jump back even further, when you talk about the Matt LeBlanc movie of Lost in Space, the older version of Will Robinson is the original actor that played Will Robinson in the TV series. So not only does he play an older version of himself in the remake movie, he also plays the original Dr. Smith in the Netflix series.
I've always liked how they try to put something in there just to give it a little tie-in, even if it's just sort of like a fan fan love letter kind of thing.
Yeah, because why not do that? Right? Why not tie the properties together, and then that way fans of the original have those Easter eggs for the new one, as long as it's not shoehorned so badly that it interrupts the story.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like Lou Ferrigno in the Hulk, the movie, as the security guard. Like,
yeah, exactly.
It's nice to have those moments.
Yeah.
Like, why not bring them back?
Yeah. And again, you're having some sort of base core group that have an interest from the original to come back to see that. You might as well, again, reward them with hey, thank you for being around. Here's what our offering is like. Hopefully you enjoy, sort of thing. And yeah,
that's right.
All right. So that being said, we've wrapped up our coming attractions. Now we're going to go on to a couple of properties that actually released this week. We're going to be talking about, first of all, the Disney Plus, special of Muppets Haunted Mansion. Now, when this was first announced a couple of months ago, I think everyone was really excited for this. Not only is it Muppets, not only is it new Muppets, it's Haunted Mansion as well.
I will have to confess I have not had a chance to see this. But
jeez,
I haven't watched it yet either. So I'm with Gavin.
What are you guys doing with your time? My God, it's not that long. It's a great little.
It's before Thanksgiving. We'll save the haunted movies until after Canadian Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
I know you Americans don't understand Canadian Thanksgiving, but it's coming.
Canadian Tire already has Christmas decorations out. What's wrong with that?
Exactly.
So what we were presented with is a new Muppets special, which is kind of cool. We've already gotten a Christmas one and whatnot, but we finally have a Halloween one, and this is modern day Muppets, which is great to see. It's a very, I'm going to describe it as a very black box production. It's a lot of, it doesn't take anything away from it, but it is a very, you can tell it is very limited people on set doing this. You have your puppeteers, you have your occasional single actor, because it's only single actors. You never see more than two actors together. And when you do, they're ghosts, so they're probably shot at different times and then composited in at one time. It's a very, looks like it's a small crew. The most I think you ever see on one screen is 3 Muppets, and that's like one where it's Pepe and it's Gonzo and it's the gravekeeper's dog. That's the most you see at one point. Everyone else is obviously shot separately and composited together. There's a lot of green screen stuff where it's a lot of tracking of a set as it walks by. The whole entire elevator sequence is definitely all computer generated, but it's beautifully done. Don't get me wrong. It looks fantastic. There's a lot of tracking shots that are beautifully done. The perspective works perfectly. The camera moves all over and all that. There's only a few props that the actual Gonzo and Pepe interact with, and it's a couple of doors. There's a corridor. There's one scene with one of the human characters, John Stamos. He's sitting down at a table, so it's obviously a room. There's a room where the Muppets are having a party, and it's obviously a room but everyone is all separate sort of thing. So it's obviously these guys are shot here, these guys are shot here, these guys are shot here, sort of thing. But it's still a beautifully put together production, and it's got Muppet humor. It's got Haunted Mansion references. It's got breaking the fourth wall as Muppets do repeatedly, and it's beautifully done. And it's, again, it is classic Muppets. It is
That's what I was going to ask you. Does it feel like classic Jim Henson?
It does.
it-
It really does.
More so than almost anything that I've seen as of late. I mean,
Nice.
look, the Jason Segel movie, the Jason Segel,
Mhm.
sorry, Jason Segel movie, The Muppets, fantastic. That is, I mean, probably the greatest non-Jim Henson Muppet thing I've ever seen. This is right up with that, and I hope that this is the start of a trend with what Disney is going to be doing with the Muppets, because lately it hasn't been like Muppets Now was fun, but it just didn't feel Muppets. It felt too Muppets trying to do The Office. It was
Yes.
too like the talking heads, I don't think really was that great, and okay, whatnot, but I'd rather want to see this felt, oh, not only did it feel more like the original TV series, it actually had a sequence where they actually reference stuff from the original series. Do you remember seeing the sequences in the original series where they would have the dance, the people at a ballroom, and they'd be like paired off and then telling jokes to each other as they go by?
Yeah.
They do that in this show.
Nice.
They do this in this show, and it's the whole entire dance sequence when you're going through the ride and you're looking down at the ballroom.
Oh, Adrian. So that's actually what I really wanted to hear, though, is that it's capturing that, because so many of the Muppets property things that Disney's been putting out lately, it doesn't feel like what Jim Henson intended with the Muppets, right? It's like kind of going off in the wrong direction. So anytime these things land back on the mark and they actually deliver what the original intention was for this stuff, because again, you know, the original Muppets was a variety show. So you can do anything with a variety show, right? Like you can do a Haunted Mansion show and make it seem like it's the Muppets putting on a performance of that property or that play or that movie or whatever it is. So when they do it right like that, that gets me excited. So I'm glad to hear that.
Okay, so Gavin, Mike, haven't seen this. You guys are going to see this, right?
Yes.
We will see it. Yeah.
Trevor, you have seen it. Your kids
Just saw
enjoyed
with
it.
kids.
Yeah, your
Yeah,
kids
they
enjoyed it. Our family here enjoyed it. Do we want to spoil the part of the theme with them?
I'm fine with spoilers on this. I don't mind.
Okay, so there's a couple musical numbers in it as well. And they're so fun because I didn't know there was going to be music in this. And when the first guy breaks out into song, I'm like, oh, I can't wait. This is so good. So yeah, so there's I think there's three songs, and then they sing a collective song during the closing credits, you know, where they have the little screens up and showing the different people, you know, dancing around to this one particular song sort of thing. So it's was really a fun ride.
Some of my favorite moments were we got to see Dr. Bunsen, Honeydew, and Beaker, and they even joke the fact that it's their only small role that they could get shoehorned into the film. And like almost like, you know, when you were watching the Muppet Show, the last Muppets to speak on most Muppet Show episodes were Statler and Waldorf, and they carry that through here, and it was just one of those moments of just like, this feels like an episode of the Muppet Show. It's only 48 minutes long, so it's not like a huge investment of time. But this is what, you know, if you've been watching the Muppet Show, this feels like it could easily be an episode on the end of that. Like it just fits so nicely.
Yeah, I was really thrilled. I was hoping to, like, I've been like we tried to see it Friday, and I wasn't going to watch it by myself because I wanted to watch it fresh with everyone and all that. So, but yeah, so I'm glad that we were able to watch it today together as a group, which was kind of neat. Next thing that we have after that is also that was released this day to home video and digital was from DC Animation Studios, and that was Injustice. So this is basically the idea is what the comics and the video game has done. Something has happened, something goes wrong, and stuff goes haywire. Hey, Gavin, why don't you explain what Injustice is for us?
Basically, it's an Elseworld version of DC superheroes, where essentially the Joker sets off a bomb which kills Lois Lane. Superman goes berserk and essentially imposes martial law, basically his law. And things start getting a lot more totalitarian from there.
And all of this came from the video game first, right?
That's right. Well, was it a comic first, or was it was the video game first?
I thought it came from the video game.
No, I'm pretty
But
sure.
I
I'm
might be
pretty
wrong
I thought
sure.
about
it
that.
was the video game came first,
Yeah, but
and they did a
they ended
comic
up
of it.
making several comics based
and
on.
then they've
yeah,
got
yeah,
this.
Yeah.
And again, DC animation for their movies always seems to be so much better than the live action. Like just I can't it's like you can't fathom all the money that DC throws trying to make a live action film. It's like, they're just constantly throwing stuff at the wall and hoping something will stick. And it's almost like in the background at another wall you have DC animation, and it's rare that anything they throw at the wall doesn't stick. And you're almost like, guys, take a look at what they're doing.
Right.
Get them to come help you, because they're doing it right again and again and again and again. And you guys get like one or two hits and you're like, woohoo! Only took us 12 tries.
So I haven't seen this yet.
Okay.
Does it hold up? Like, who all watched this? Did everybody else watch it?
I did.
watched it.
I did
Yeah,
not
it-
get a chance.
Okay, so
It
again,
whole-
just me. Yeah.
Just us.
All right, so you guys tell us, explain to me and Gavin why we should watch this or not watch it.
It's got a compelling story.
Yeah.
They do a little slight alteration on who killed Lois, which was a nice twist. And,
So it's different than the video game? Is that
It's a little bit of a twist. Joker, his plan kills Lois, and more importantly, Lois and Superman's unborn child. Which is, and Superman reaches that point where he not just steps over the line, he flies well past that line that he never crosses.
right?
And now there's that point where he could say, "Oh, I've made a terrible mistake. Let me step back." And he's like, "No, I'm going to plant my other foot down. The line's now behind me." And he keeps getting further and further from the line. And yeah, it starts, the body count starts racking up on both sides of heroes and villains and civilians. The civilians take the brunt of it,
Yeah.
as
yeah.
usual.
Like the nice thing about it, like within the first 10 minutes, not only do we lose characters like Scarecrow, but Gavin, how you want to see the whole entire Flash running through time and throwing you into a T-Rex? Guess who the first superhero is to die in this?
The Flash?
Yep.
Oh,
But he gets killed by a Joker trap.
Oh, I thought
well,
you were
it's
going
a
to say
combination
T-Rex.
Joker.
Yeah,
Scarecrow.
combination Joker. Yes, combination Joker using
Scarecrow's
fear gas. So
to make him basically not pay attention.
it's the first splattering of blood in this
Yeah,
movie,
big
isn't it? He
blood
gets
splatter on the
decapitated.
wall. You're like-
He gets decapitated. Yeah,
You're like, Flash?
Yeah.
Oh.
yeah. So
Looks like
yeah.
I did that.
Okay, wait, I have a question for you guys, because this is essentially a DC Elseworld story,
Yes.
if you're going to say
Mhm.
that, which is essentially the same as Marvel What If,
Mhm.
right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Same kind of idea.
Yeah.
So, what's better, What If or Injustice?
That's a tough call,
that's a
because
tough-
they even reference, like, part of the plot device
Is coming up
is
with the multiverse.
coming up with a multiverse and how to access it.
Yeah.
Access people from other dimensions, other multiverses, and bring them into this multiverse to help.
Yeah,
because
about halfway through, Mr. Terrific figures out,
Yeah.
hey, there's multiverses. Let's see what
Yeah,
we can
'cause the
do
thing
about
is,
that.
At this point, the ranks of villains and heroes have taken a severe hit.
Yeah.
Because anyone not aligned with Superman gets a very permanent solution. Yeah, and he doesn't want to work with villains, so they get a very permanent solution. Yeah, so it's the people opposed to Superman are grasping at straws, like really grasping at straws.
Okay, let me ask you something else then, in sort of in line with Mike's questioning. In the game, all of the heroes / villains were kind of juiced up so that, Green Arrow could fight Superman and actually have it fair. Because, I mean, if a guy can basically punch a planet in half versus point
The guy with the bow.
bows and arrows.
Oh, the guy with the bow, Batman gave him some special arrows. Plus, they had a couple of contingency plans. Like, as usual, Batman had various contingency plans for various heroes. At one point, they had Superman held hostage by the Atom. But one of Superman's newfound pals, Ra's al Ghul, kind of helped him with that in a very disgusting and that was a horrible way to go.
It was, yeah. So
like,
no, Gavin, they're not superpowered. No, they're not, like the power levels are not evened out. These are the DC characters and how they deal with the situation. And then it's only when they bring in the other dimensions, the multiverse, which comes in, like I said, rather late in the actual game, the actual access to the multiverse, when we get into the more than one of a particular character and all that. So, but we're stuck with this one Earth with all these characters trying to duke it out. And it's like Batman on one side trying to stop Clark from doing what he's doing, and Clark just doing what he's doing with a very supportive Wonder Woman at his side. She totally drinks the Kool-Aid at the very beginning when Clark decides, no, I'm going to rule this. And she's all like, yes, I will help you do this. Then Clark steps over a line and Wonder Woman's like, oh, I don't know about this, Clark. I was with you and then all of a sudden, again, it's also late in the game when she decides, no, you've gone too far there, Clark.
So you guys still didn't answer though. Oh wait, go ahead, Trevor, before I ask.
It's worth a watch. Is it as good as what we've had so far with What If?
That was my question. Yeah.
It's right. It's kind of dancing around the line. It's in some ways it's as good, if not better. Other ways it's inferior to What If. So it's kind of hard to choose which one's better. Okay,
in what ways is it better? What would you say?
They stay consistent to the characters.
Okay.
Like they have a couple of, like, Plastic Man stays consistent to the character of Plastic Man. At one point they even make a reference of, well, we're Earth 1, and like, actually you're Earth 22, we're Earth 1. Because the guy's like, hey, Earth 9 meet Earth 1. Like, actually we're Earth 1, you're Earth 22. So they keep consistent with the whole different dimensionality of characters, but it's just they stay consistent with the characters. Like Harley Quinn acts like Harley Quinn. She just doesn't suddenly like, oh, now I'm the hero girl and I'm gonna completely forget all the stuff I do as Harley Quinn. Same thing with like Batman, especially. He stays Batman. Robin, Nightwing, the characters stay consistent, which is something I've always found with various properties. Is they're like, oh, the character has to suddenly do this, which is completely out of character, out of character for that particular character. And it's like, yeah. And that's the part that gets hard to swallow. And then the rest of the story, because it hinges on that moment, it's like, you kind of lost me. You kind of took me out of there. In this one, the characters stay consistent, which is a big point, which is what I think the live action DC movies is lacking, is they don't know where to take these characters. So they just let the writers go wild.
Right.
And if the writers aren't, intimately aware of the nuances the character has had, people who are fans of these characters are like, no, that character wouldn't do it. It's like suddenly Batman starts breaking out into song and drinking pina coladas. You're like, what? No, he doesn't do that.
Adam West would never do that.
Well, Adam West would, but exactly, like, need another martini, guys.
Now, I will say, I am definitely going to see this because, well, the Injustice storyline in the games was always just absolutely riveting in terms of like a video game plotline. But if they do not have this,
it's moving really slow for me.
Yeah, it's moving really slow for me too. Gotta optimize the video. Get the idea though.
Yeah, it runs them back through time, or it runs them into themselves. Unfortunately, Flash does not have a whole lot of screen time before he becomes a blood splatter on a wall. Yeah, that there's Flash doesn't have enough screen time for that to happen. I wish it did, but yeah, the way he got taken out, it was shocking, but at the same time plausible.
Yeah. Also, I think for storyline alone, I think taking Flash out was probably the best way to get around having the Flash in this story and still have certain things happen. Like if Flash were still around, that certain things wouldn't have happened.
Yeah. So yeah,
I will say the Injustice finishers like that were some of the best parts. Even though you had like Superman grabbing like Batman and basically punching him through a planet, and then Batman just gets up, brushes himself off.
Yeah. In the Injustice movie, when Superman flies through Solomon Grundy, Grundy doesn't get up and brush himself off. That doesn't happen.
Okay, so a nice realistic take on it.
And again, poor Calendar Man. Poor Calendar Man.
And whoever this guy is.
Oh.
And he's got like all the bunts around it. So, just gets no respect, that guy.
All righty then. So that being said, yeah, again, and like Trevor said, it's definitely worth the watch. I think for me, I think What If has a little more of an up on it, only because they had a lot more time to deal with this storyline. I mean, it's an 87. No, wait a sec. I just had the screen open, and it is how long is Injustice? Injustice is an hour and 18 minutes long. So yeah.
They had a whole lot of time.
Yeah, exactly. So, but what they do in that hour and 18 minutes is actually quite impressive. But again, with What If, they have so much more time to draw on this story. And that being said, let's move on to our next subject, which is what if the Watcher broke his oath? So,
damn you, Watcher.
So what we have is the final episode of the first season of Disney Plus's What If series. And like I said, it's the Watcher broke his oath. Michael, you want to take charge on this one?
For me, again, Black Widow steals the show. Why could they not do this in the Black Widow movie? I don't know. But overall, I liked it. I thought it was a fitting ending to the whole What If series. I love that they did a two-parter, but they actually gave us the second part. That's great. So it felt like a proper ending. On the negative side, I thought Ultron was way too weak. You've got Ultron in the movies where he's almost invincible. Now he's got the Infinity Stones all around him. He has all that power, and he's still getting beaten up by the heroes. Like anytime there's a fight, he seemed way too weak, not only for Ultron, but for Ultron with Infinity Stones. It was just, that bothered me. However, the show was so good, I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. Maybe the robot just can't use.
You could overlook that sort of like his processing
right. It's
speed.
Like
his dial-up wasn't quite linked into the universe.
He didn't have like the dark elf or whatever. What the geez, what is it? Tyrion's gauntlet.
Yeah.
Or he didn't have the Stark Tech nano gauntlet. It's like, okay, my brain can come up with a reason why he didn't use it as good as he should have. I still thought he was too weak for Ultron, but
I kind of liken that because they had the dark Stephen Strange. Because the dark Stephen Strange, look at how much power that guy had absorbed to get to that point. So I think he was, even Ultron at his almost full might with all the different Infinity Stones, which he lost one at one point. Dark Stephen Strange could almost battle him to a standstill by himself.
Yeah, the magic armor was awesome. That was a good sort of plot
as the magic armor was getting chipped away at, you'd see the symbols starting to flick off. That was beautiful.
Nice. Now, what I did like is the episode started with the start of the Winter Soldier, but instead of Captain America, it was Captain Carter.
Mhm.
And even the dialogue was very similar.
Yeah.
And it was a nice touch. And then, when the Watcher's going around and recruiting his team, the one thing I didn't like is the fact that so they needed Gamora from the Tony Stark and Gamora on Sakaar, and without having that episode, it kind of been like, okay, what the hell armor is Tony wearing, and what makes Gamora so great? So you just kind of had to go with it, kind of like, well, okay, I guess I'll.
Yeah, it was very random.
But I mean, they're going to explain that in season 2. We're going to get the Sakaar episode, so I like that it was Party Thor. Because
That was the Watcher couldn't get a word in edgewise.
yeah.
Thor, you have Thor.
And then when he picked him up and he's screaming the big wide mouth screaming, ah! It made it a fun episode. I like the fact that they had Killmonger in there and T'Challa as Star-Lord. It was a nice way of grabbing all the various characters that we've had in the previous episodes of What If.
Actually, Trevor, you just reminded me of that. That was one thing that really threw me for a loop. The fact that it was Killmonger and Black Panther together.
Yeah, and they kept calling him
bizarre.
cousin, and they kept calling each other cousin. And you could tell that Killmonger wasn't going to say that, oh, by the way, I already killed you once. But, he's kind of thinking it. I love the fact that they had Natasha there on the one where Clint finally died and she was the last person left on the planet. And the fact that she got a little bit of resolution at the end of the episode because she got dropped in a universe where their Natasha had died and they were fighting up against, King Loki. So,
Yeah, so technically, that being said, we got basically a second part to almost every single one of our episodes too, because we all found out where they were each killed from, how this exactly. Yeah, we got the zombies back in this one. Oh my god, when
That
they
was fun.
dropped the zombies, and it's not just the zombies, it's what's coming with the zombies, and zombie friggin' Wanda was so good.
that was scary.
Oh yeah, so how Ultron had to destroy the whole entire planet to stop her? That was amazing. Yeah. No, it was
the look of bewilderment on his face though when he realized there was still one left. Huh?
Yeah. He was like, oh, well, kill off all these zombies, and there's one that you couldn't quite kill off quite so easily. But yeah, when the rift opened and all the zombies started dropping out, I'm like, yeah, get him, zombies, get him. There's nothing really to bite, but get him. Dogpile them.
Yeah, exactly. And again, like you said, Mike, having this Black Widow was fantastic. I really love the different versions of the What If version of Black Widow have been fantastic. And it is kind of unfortunate that we didn't get to see Scarlett Johansson do this particular version of her character. I mean, I'm not as disappointed as you in the Scarlett Johansson version of what they did to Black Widow, but yes, this
specifically for the movie, right?
Yeah, exactly, for the movie. Yes, not as a whole, but for the Black Widow movie, yes. But what they did with What If with the character is just like, yeah, you know what? Again, because it's animation, you could do a lot of stuff, and what they did was fantastic.
It's really good.
Having it be friggin' Black Widow stopping Loki in that fight was fantastic. We got to see another. We got our final Chadwick Boseman performance as T'Challa, Star-Lord T'Challa. Haley Atwell's back. Like all the characters are back, and again, it's nice that we got Jeffrey Wright to be part of the story instead of talking about the story. It is really nice. And again, like Sam Jackson is back, and even like George St. Pierre comes back as Batroc, which I didn't realize until I saw the credits. I'm like, wait, isn't that the guy that actually plays Batroc, which is kind of cool. So yeah, I mean, it was really good. And again, I don't know why it was, but it really kind of cool to have Kurt Russell just have 2 lines in the 2 episodes that he was in, and that was it. But it actually was Kurt Russell. It was actually Kurt Russell. Worked. Yeah, no, it was great. And then at the end of this, we got to see how the characters are when they return to their lives. Like we find out that Star-Lord T'Challa is teamed up with Peter Quill fighting and whatnot. It was really, really cool to see that. And again, totally looking forward to a second season because it can't get here soon enough, because it was just a fantastic finale to what we've gotten so far. It is unfortunately we didn't get that one episode with Gamora, but I want to see what the frack that armor is that Tony was wearing.
Yeah, I want to see him actually like in the arena with that stuff.
Oh, that would be incredible.
And I have to say, this episode we got to see Zola taking it.
Yes.
Like, finally,
Yes.
we got to the Prime Ultron. You got the arrow in the eye, and it was great to see him. Like, oh, what do we have here? And then the big hole in the chest, and then there's the face, and it was just like, oh god. Finally.
I think the last after credit scene with Captain Carter finding the Hydra Stomper, I think was one of my favorite after credit scenes. By all rights, and Steve Rogers should be dead at this point.
But they said it's not just what's the Hydra Stomper, but what's inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a nice touch.
Clearly, that's going to be a second part to that, or continuation of that. That was that was my favorite team up of all of the what ifs was Captain Carter basically leaping off the back of the Hydra Stomper and like bringing down airplanes and then jumping back onto the Hydra Stomper.
Also, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's the actual first thing that the writers had basically confirmed for second season, that they were going to return to a Captain Carter storyline as part of second season for sure. Now, obviously, I think they just did that because you knew it was going to be the first episode, and they're like, there's going to be more of Captain Carter for sure. And like I said, we're probably going to have either more of these. Obviously, some were going to be completely different than that. I hope we get some sort of Darcy Howard the Duck storyline in this new season, but you never know what. But do we actually know so it is currently, if I remember correctly, it is currently being worked on second season, right?
Yes. But they haven't released.
There's
any
no.
information.
Yeah.
Everyone's keeping mum about it.
So that wraps up of all the new stuff that we were able to release. Is there anything else that anyone wants to talk about before we go into our final subject of the evening? Mr. Gavin, I see you are raising a finger there. You just speak up. It's a podcast that people can't actually see you putting your hands up.
Speaking of Scarlett Johansson, she's apparently sorted out the things with Disney. So sounds like they are going to amicably work together again. So what this could mean, I don't know. Maybe since we're dealing with multiverses, maybe we'll see a proper Black Widow stepping back into the modern Marvel universe.
Well, we do know that Scarlett Johansson is going to be working with Disney again, because she is actually going to be working on the new movie based on the Tower of Terror ride. So unlike
that's the one that Disney canceled when they had their little hissy fit, and now that everybody's friends again, it's back on. It's
back on, yeah. So there's that. I mean, that's nice. I mean, it's good to see that she has gotten what she obviously is comfortable. Yeah, exactly. No, it was totally a money thing, and that's the reason why it was the beginning sort of thing. So I mean, again, Disney probably just saving face, like, okay, we know, okay, here you go, let's stop talking about this. And they're all like, yeah, I got what I wanted, you guys got what you want, we can work together, sort of thing. So that's all amicable. Ooh, I came up with the word amicable at 11 o'clock at night. Not bad. Thank you.
Well, that's only because I just said it.
Oh, you did? Oh, damn. And I thought I just it was already there. So, oh well.
Well, I planted it in there.
I'm going to take a win on that. I was actually able to use one of the other words for the reason it was
shows
being
you were
used
listening.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Is there anything else anyone wants to tackle or anything like that, or what?
I mean, a side thing would be, so my girls have been watching Amphibia and basically a bunch of the Disney cartoons like Amphibia, Owl House, stuff like that. And they were asking, because the new season of Amphibia came out, and they were asking about Owl House. So, I looked it up, and this is where Disney, you're kind of like, oh God, really? Do you have to be run by a bunch of old white men? So Amphibia, it's a great storyline, whatever. It's got its whatever merchandise. Owl House has roughly the same level of merchandising as Amphibia, but the Owl House has a gay character and a bisexual character. And so they're finishing off season 2. They had been signed to do season 3. And then Disney has said, well, we're going to do 3 44-minute episodes instead of a season 3, wrap up the show and be done with it, because the Owl House, it's just not a wholesome Disney brand. And
wow, that's shocking. Really?
Yeah, and yeah, that's their stance is it's just not something, because they say, well, it's got darker tones and it doesn't have as much merchandising, so it's going in a direction that Disney's not really wanting to go in.
Okay, well, the idea, I mean, the look of it is a little bit on the dark side. It's not your typical Disney series, but it's actually
honestly it has as much merchandising potential as Amphibia, which they're going ahead with, they're happy with. But and the thing is the creator of the Owl House has said, if the people managing the Disney animated series weren't those people, it would probably have been picked up for a 3rd season and been doing episodes no problem. It's it's the old men, as she put it, the white old men running Disney television animation have a problem with the fact that the main character is bisexual and she has a gay girlfriend. And it's really sad that they're basically pussyfooting around saying, oh well, yeah, it's the dark tone and we don't think we're gonna. It's like, look, if you're gonna be homophobes about it, just come out and say we don't like the way the show's going. Don't dance around the bush and try to make yourself sound, oh, it's something else entirely. Call a spade a spade. Just say that you're uncomfortable and you're stuck, in the dark ages. Fine, say it. You're Disney. You've got the pockets to have the lawyers to throw at it and fix it. So yeah, so then having to explain this to my daughters that, oh yeah, once this season ends, next season you get 3 44-minute episodes and then the Owl House is over with. And and then trying to explain to them why. Because initially, I mean, obviously, the second you tell your kids, oh, it's going to be done, their first word out of the mouth is, well, why? And it's like, okay. So yeah, it's just one of these situations of, it really sucks that some of the people in charge are the people in charge.
It's also unfortunate that your kids have actually grown attached to it. They enjoy watching the series. I've seen a few of it, and it's actually very clever. It's not. I guess I can see where they're saying that it's dark. It's not really dark, but it's like a Dungeons and Dragons sort of feel to it. It has a Adventure Time sort of thing, but with
very much so. But
the animation is more appealing. I mean,
yeah,
other than
it's got a strong female lead.
Yeah,
which is why my daughters want to watch it.
Yeah.
And for them to say, well, it's like, well, you have another show that has a strong female lead that you're committed 100% behind. And the shows are very similar. Like they could easily do a crossover between shows, and it would work. And you're like, well, why are you so behind one and not so behind the other? And it's like, well, it's because the one you're not behind has a bisexual lead character with a gay girlfriend, and it's like, really, that's your sticking point. So yeah, that was part of my week this week.
Okay then, all right. Okay, so if there's not any other thing to go on to, anything to bring up, anything else going once, going twice?
Boruto. Keep watching that. I know you guys don't watch it. I've been saying that since the beginning of the podcast.
I've been trying
to. Died last weekend. One of the saddest moments in Naruto history. There's lots of tears, and the way they did that episode, if you haven't seen it, they stopped the episode abruptly. It's kind of shocking. They changed the end credits where scrolling along the side. It was just showing history from the last, however many, 15, 20 years worth of Naruto story of Naruto and Kurama, the nine-tailed fox.
Okay.
And it was haunting. Like, you just watched, it's like, this is unlike anything I've ever seen. And then they had an end credits little thing where they gave you just a little bit more story. And again, Sunday morning, the whole family's awake for it. And everybody was just annihilated by the story. Like, there's tears, people were shocked. It was like, and I don't normally experience this kind of stuff in movies or television, but this show just keeps delivering. So anybody, if you want good storytelling, if you want to see how, Lucasfilm should have done the next Star Wars movies, if you want to just see anything where it's just good entertainment with kids with wholesome messages,
only
it's blowing
700
us away.
episodes to get through.
Yeah, I know. It's taking me a while to get to that. Trying to wade through 350 hours takes a while.
It's crazy, but it is so worth it. And again, like everybody's looking forward to see what happens in the next couple of hours, because the next episode's
exactly.
about to drop.
Now, again, these are brand new, right? These aren't like
yes,
months old or something like that. This is dropping like.
Yeah, this is dropping immediately. Right. So, and it's finally starting to catch up to the manga, from what I understand. Again, I've said this before. My son Erickson is the one who is kind of like our Naruto DJ and our information man. He tells us what's up and who's doing what and who's animating what. And he's like, Dad, we're getting close to the time jump. It's like, I don't even know what that means. But in Naruto, he went away to train for 2 years and then he comes back. So he's like, what would he be, like 14 years old, and then he comes back 16 years old, so he's now more of a man, and he's trained with the legendary Sanin, and it's like the whole show matures. And apparently we're going to get to that time skip soon with this series. I don't know when and what's going to be filler episodes and what's going to be actually based on the manga, but again, like these guys, they keep delivering. So if anybody likes anime, do yourself a favor and check that out.
All
righty then. Yeah, definitely. And again, I mean, Mike is given such like an outstanding love of this series. Like you said, his family is involved with it and all that. So I mean, you can't go wrong.
It sounds like we're all doing this for Halloween as well. Everyone's picking their Naruto characters to be for Halloween. I may have to do Jiraiya.
All right.
Yeah.
Picture
all right.
It didn't happen.
Yeah, exactly. Picture it didn't happen.
Yeah.
All right. So seeing last week, we wrapped up with our box office showdown version 1. We're now going to move on to something else that we cobbled together with just a inkling of an idea. And the idea is we're coming up with a new segment called Defending Your Role. So what it is this is an audience participation sort of thing as well. What it is every single time we do a Defending Your Role, and I think we'll do it maybe a bi-weekly thing. Every other week we'll do something like that, like this. And the idea is
bi-weekly, twice a week, or every 2 weeks?
Every 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Sorry, old conversation back in the comic book days.
Oh, okay. Bi-weekly, yes, exactly. Yes, bi-monthly, right? Yes. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So the idea is what we are given is we are given a subject matter. One person will pick a subject matter and they will have 6 options. The 4 people involved in the conversation will take a single 6-sided die and roll that single 6-sided die. And whichever number they roll up, that's the subject that they actually have to defend as being the best in this group. And so for an example, our particular first attempt at this is going to be the Batman edition. So what we've done is we've chosen the actors that have portrayed a Batman, 6 of them, and we basically, 1 is Adam West, 2 is Michael Keaton, 3 is Val Kilmer, 4 is George Clooney, 5 is Christian Bale, and 6 is going to be Ben Affleck. So our roles, we basically, on our little conversation that we have each other, we basically post the actual individual roles that we have so that everyone knows what everyone else is picking. And then if someone has a duplicate number, they have to re-roll. So whoever posts first gets that number first. So, and I believe we are going to be starting off with the number 1 role, which belongs to Gavin and Adam West. Go ahead, there, Gavin, defend your role.
Adam West?
Yes.
Okay. Let's start here. Why is Adam West Batman the best Batman? Let's face it. No matter how grim the situation was, chum, Batman always had a solution. Whether it was using back shark repellent, getting eaten by a giant clam, or having to outsurf the Joker, there was always a solution. Name one Batman that had a gadget for every situation. Name one Batman who bothered to label everything in the Batcave or Batmobile so that even a trained monkey could navigate around the Batcave. And if the Batmobile, the Batcopter, the Batboat were all out of commission, when was the last time you saw Batman race? Yes, race to the scene of a crime, running out of breath. Adam West Batman did. He was that devoted. And when you think Batman, you inevitably think Bruce Wayne. And no one outdresses Adam West's Bruce Wayne. Holy artful ascots Batman. The man oozes style and fashion sense. From black tie dining to relaxing in the Bat Library, this Bruce Wayne was pure debonair. This Batman even had his own signature dance, the Batootsie. How come Batman doesn't dance anymore? Sheer lack of talent? Not this Batman. And those eyebrows. None of this dark, foreboding brooding. This Batman's eyebrows are set on wholly optimistic outlook, Batman. And what about moral flexibility? Name one Batman who sticks to his scruples. Adam West does. No villain died under his watch. He treated every single one of his villains with respect in the hopes of turning them around and rehabilitating themselves. Not to mention, every single female villain, he treated them, yes, ma'am. Adam West Batman is the best of everything that is Batman. Detective, crime fighter, caring father figure. Adam West, best Batman.
That was a great job, Gav. That was awesome.
I wasn't sure how I was going to pull that off.
How long did it take you to write that one?
Oh, it took me a couple of days, just kind of on and off. I was trying to do it with, I was debating on doing it with the Adam West cadence, but I don't know if I could pull that off properly.
No one could. No one could.
Okay, I'm gonna have to congratulate you on that one, Gavin. Wow, that was. I'm sorry. That was very impressive. I really enjoyed that. Wow. Okay. Wow. I guess we got I got my work cut out for me because I ended up with role number 2, which means it's Michael Keaton. And of course, Michael Keaton is the best Batman there is because of anyone of our age. This is the first Batman that we actually got to see as our own. It is the it's the anticipates. It is the point that we needed to see a DC comic movie. Prior to this, we had, of course, Christopher Reeve's as Superman in like the late 70s was cool. And then we had another Superman movie. And then we had Swamp Thing, we had Supergirl, we had Superman Quest for Peace. DC made movies were on the downslide. Then there's rumors of them doing a Batman movie. And from the director, Tim Burton doing a comic book movie? What's that all about? But the idea that the man that did Pee-wee's Big Adventure and Beetlejuice is going to be making a comic book movie, sure, this seems interesting. Then you find out who's getting the role, and that's Michael Keaton. Wait, 1982's Night Shift, Michael Keaton? 1983's Mr. Mom, Michael Keaton? 1984's Johnny Dangerously, Michael Keaton? What is going on with this? Once. The only nice thing about this is, wait a sec, these gentlemen have worked before. Beetlejuice, Tim Burton, and Michael Keaton worked well together. We then, just before that, have a movie coming out just prior to Batman called Clean and Sober, where we actually see Michael Keaton doing his actually acting. So here's a little bit of a story for me personally. I am in high school. I am doing co-op. I'm working at the National Film Board on an animated feature. The day is May 24th, 1989. And the group of us decided to take off early from work to go see Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade on its opening day. We are sitting in the movie theater. I can't remember which theater it is, but it's a classic theater, downtown Toronto, big screen, red velvet curtains. They're playing Star Wars music in the theater while we're all waiting. And one of the guys that is one of the animators working for the National Film Board, the top of his lungs, while everyone's sitting there, says, "You know what? I think Michael Keaton will make an excellent Batman. Of course, the audience starts laughing and all that. Little do we know that just under a month later, on June 23rd, the world is exposed to 1989 Batman. And Michael Keaton is playing the role of the ultimate vigilante in the DC universe. We are given a character description of a man who is a tortured soul. His Bruce Wayne is a very funny character. His Batman is a completely different character, which is a fantastic way to do it. Michael Keaton's Batman plays well up against his Joker. There have been other Jokers, and the Batman that go up against those Jokers always seem to be a little overshadowed by that Joker. This is one of the few times, and we are talking a Jack Nicholson Joker, that Michael Keaton fights, puts himself on the same pedestal as Jack Nicholson. The sequence where Bruce Wayne goes off on the Joker about, you want to get nuts? Come on, let's get nuts, is fantastic. And that's Michael Keaton acting at his greatest. He works well with all of his femme fatales, while Vicky Vale, portrayed by Kim Basinger, is a really great relationship. The fact that it moves into the next movie, he's working with Michelle Pfeiffer and Selena Kyle. His Bruce works beautifully with her, but works even better as his Batman against the Catwoman, Michelle Pfeiffer. And then throw in Danny DeVito as the Penguin. The Batman is at his greatest when he is in this situation. It's a three-sided triangle. Really, Troy? You're going to use that analogy? But the idea that, yes, exactly. Yes, thank you. I know, three-sided triangle is a fantastic way to do it. He holds his own in every single thing. He introduces the gadgets. Now, I know Adam West had his gadgets, and I will give you that whole entire thing, Gavin, what you said about labeling. Yes, I will not deny that. But this Batman doesn't have a Lucius Fox. This Batman comes up with all this stuff on his own. Again, Adam West, sure, same thing. A label maker, works. Part of the utility belt. But this is the man with the gadgets. These are practical gadgets. These seem to work. This Batmobile, the most iconic of all Batmobiles, is this Batmobile. This Batman has the fantastic Batmobile. We're not talking the next step with the neon and all that. We're talking classic Burton-esque Batman. This is also a Batman that inspires probably the greatest Batman, the animated series. So that being said, Michael Keaton's Batman is the best Batman so far. Oh, and he's also coming back in the next Flash movie. Who's next? Oh, I guess that would be me giving out the information of what the next role would be. And I believe we are going to the number 4 role, which is Mr. Michael. And he has George Clooney. So Michael, defend your role.
All right, just for the record, internet seems to be cutting out around here. So I'm not running away from this, just so you know. If suddenly the screen goes black, it's not because I'm running away from this challenge. However, I mean, let's face it, George Clooney's been apologizing for this role ever since he acted it. That's 20 years and he's still apologizing. I don't know why anybody would like this movie. I didn't even watch this movie. Like, it was bad enough with Jim Carrey and whatever Two-Face in the previous one. I think the only reason I saw this is I might have seen it playing in Trevor's apartment and I walked in for a couple of sequences of it. I'm pretty sure that's because I know for sure I did not see this movie. I can't defend it. There's no defense for this movie unless you like bat nipples. I mean, if you like bat nipples, I mean, you know, like seriously, you know, vote for the bat nipples if you're going to do it. Now, George Clooney, okay, he was great in ER. He could have done a Thomas Wayne. right? You know, the fact that Bruce Wayne's father was a doctor and he helped people. I totally buy George Clooney as Thomas Wayne. But he's a lousy Bruce Wayne. I know I'm supposed to be making my argument, so I apologize for completely ruining this. This is why I'm not a defense attorney, because I have to try and speak my truth. So this is why I'm in storytelling and not making big money as a lawyer defending people. However, anybody that wants to throw a monkey wrench into this whole process, just vote for George Clooney, because he's not the best Batman. Let's face it. Okay, his jawline and the cowl look pretty cool. Like, you know, it's better than Christian Bale. I'm Batman. So I'll give him that. That wasn't so bad. I mean, he wasn't prancing around in silly tights, you know, like the old 70s Batman or whatever, right? No, I got no defense for this. You know, Mr. Mom did a better job as Batman. Let's just face it. He didn't even have the colors right, okay? You know, at least Tim Burton got the colors right. You know, it's like, okay, it wasn't gray and blue and yellow. It was just like everything was wrong. Anyways, yeah, vote for George Clooney.
All right, and that brings us down to the number 6 role, which is Mr. Brown, and he is going to be defending Ben Affleck as the best Batman. So, Mr. Brown, defend your role.
Oh God! So when I first heard that Ben Affleck had been chosen to be Batman, I was more along the lines of, "Really? You sure? That's the barrel you're going for?" So I didn't really think he had I didn't know if he had the acting chops to pull off Batman, or Bruce Wayne for that matter. But then I saw him in the first time we saw Batman, which was Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. Not a great movie. Barely qualifies as a bad movie. There were just some, you know, did he do a good job? And I think he did. I think he played Bruce Wayne as, you know, this is a character he's been Batman for a good portion of his life and has reached a point where, you know, the spirit's willing, but the flesh is weak. He's accrued too much damage, too much age. He can't physically be Batman anymore. So he has stepped into the role of Bruce Wayne, and he basically returns as Batman after all of the wanton destruction that we saw in Man of Steel, also Zack Snyder's movie. And this is where we see Bruce Wayne / Batman at his best. How do you take down a living god? What do you do? So they pulled from the Dark Knight Returns comic book. You use power-assisted armor. You use kryptonite. And that's what he did. Now, unfortunately, I was getting that. Unfortunately, the writers got real damn lazy and like, how are we going to get these guys to fight together? Martha, which will go down in the annals of cinematic history of two guys got drunk and wrote down the word Martha on a cocktail napkin and thought that was the answers to the universe. Terrible writing aside, Affleck brought to life Bruce Wayne. He was a very believable Bruce Wayne. He was at the point where he wasn't Batman acting as Bruce Wayne because he could no longer be Batman. He was someone who accepted that, okay, this is how he was going to change the world. He could no longer do it as Batman. He was going to do it as Bruce Wayne. Circumstances forced him back into the role of Batman. And he picked up the character. So that when we saw him very briefly in Suicide Squad, we saw Batman, you know, taking down, you know, Deadshot, taking down Harley. But more importantly, we saw him at the end as Bruce Wayne dealing with Amanda Waller as Bruce Wayne. And we saw the power that Bruce Wayne could wield. He was no longer the vague playboy that everyone was like, oh God, what a waste of space. This is a focused businessman. Then we jump into Justice League, be it the Zack Snyder Justice League or the mishmash multi-director Justice League. But we see him having to jump back into the role, or not just jump back, but stay in the role of Batman because of the threat to the world. But it was an interesting thing. You had a Batman that didn't want to be the team leader. he knew his limitations. He knew that they had to get Superman back, that he couldn't, people aren't going to follow Batman because he's too mysterious, too spooky. He needs the world's greatest Boy Scout to be the team leader. So, we see him working on the giant plane. We see him coming up with the ideas of, how do we bring back, Clark Kent? How do we bring back Superman? And again, at the end of the film, you see him, he was willing to take the sacrifice of, sacrifice his own life for the greater good to get the job done, which is the attitude that probably got him to the point where his body was so battered that he had to hang up the mantle of the bat, willing to put his body on the line. He's running around with metahumans who are super strong and super fast. And he's just a guy. And he even says, what's your superpower? And says, I'm rich. It was a great throwaway line. He's got the drive, he's got the will. Luckily, he had the cash to get it done. So I think Ben Affleck was the best Batman because he was one of the best Bruce Waynes. He was a very believable Bruce Wayne who's in the twilight of his career. He's gone past that his best moments and is now on the downslide of old age or older age where he's given it up. And people believed enough of Affleck that, he had a solo movie lined up, but he bowed out of it, mainly because the story wasn't there. And I even looked it up, and the story was supposed to be Batman versus Deathstroke, which was going to be a match made in heaven, seeing those two. The idea was they were both trained in the League of Assassins. Deathstroke blamed Batman for the death of his son, and Deathstroke was going to be behind the scenes dismantling Bruce's life from the inside, taking him down, until we have culminated into a big final fight between the two, which would have been great.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, but but he is coming back for the Flash movie along with Keaton, so he's good enough. He's in the Flash movie as another Batman. Does he have bat nipples? No. Does he have drawn on eyebrows so he looks perpetually surprised? No. Can he turn his head without turning his whole body to look?
Okay, I'm gonna put a stop to this right now. I don't think it's very fair of us to tear down anyone else's
I'm not tearing down anybody. I'm just simply stating what makes him a better Batman.
Okay.
And
I'm going to allow that. Go ahead and tear them down, Trevor.
And most importantly, the distinction between Bruce Wayne and Batman is not only just the voice, but if you look closely, he stands differently when he's Batman. He moves differently when he's Batman. And I read up that is a conscious choice that Ben Affleck did as an actor. When he is dressed as Bruce Wayne, he stands in a specific stance. He speaks a certain way. He even gestures with his hands a certain way. When he puts on the cape and cowl, he changes the way he stands. He changes the way he moves. He changes the way he talks. These are the tools that Bruce Wayne would have used so that people could not connect him to Batman. To me, that's the hallmark of a great actor. So, love or hate Ben Affleck as an actor in all his other films, I believe of the choices we had of the six, he is the best Batman.
Yeah, but can he rock an ascot?
Who would want to? The only person who rocks an ascot is Fred. Okay? So, Gav, you can take that argument, jump in the mystery machine, and hopefully you and Shaggy can light up and pet Scooby for a while. Because the only person who wears an ascot is Fred.
You missed a perfect opportunity to tell me to shove it up my ascot.
No, because I'm not going to lower myself to that.
Besides, with your bad back, you might not want to be doing that sort of thing.
Yeah.
All right. So that being said, that is the arguments for the 4 particular Batmans that we have rolled up to defend. So what it is up to the audience now to go on to our different social medias. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us on what's the other one that I'm missing? Twitter. And
we're on Twitter?
We're on Twitter. Yes. All the links will be at the end of the episode. There's an outro that we have that explains where you can go to all those. And there will be a posting on each of those that is going to be up for the next week and a bit after the drop of this particular episode, and put in your votes. And then 2 weeks later, we'll revisit this whole entire thing and find out.
Vote for Clooney.
And find out.
In fact,
who
where's
actually...
Kevin Conroy in this? You know what? If you like Kevin Conroy, just vote for Clooney.
Yeah. No, if you like Kevin Conroy, just make your own category. Kevin Conroy, I want to see him to get all the votes.
Okay, so first of all, on Twitter, you can make a poll that has 4 options at most. That's why I went with this sort of thing. And we all know that whoever got, if I had Kevin Conroy in this role, Kevin Conroy automatically wins. I mean,
It would just been
vote for Clooney.
Yeah, it would have been. And my argument is Kevin Conroy.
Kevin Conroy, exactly. So that's the reason why Kevin Conroy was left off the list. Plus, Kevin Conroy technically really hasn't played Batman.
Oh,
Sure,
careful,
he was
Troy.
okay.
The rages of nerdom may be unleashed upon us.
No. He is only one time physically been Batman in a 5-minute sequence in a Flash crossover of an Elseworlds storyline on the WB. He is not actually
still blew it out of the goddamn park.
Yeah, but still, I had to take Kevin Conroy out because, first of all, I needed 6.
Would win.
I needed 6 exactly. I needed 6, and if someone ended up getting Kevin Conroy, that's an automatic win. There's no reason to put up any of the votes because even between the 4 of us, we'd all go, "Yes, Kevin Conroy is the best Batman. He's the best Batman. He's the best Bruce Wayne." I mean, there's no. When what you just said about Affleck is 10 times more for Kevin Conroy. The difference between the way the voice, and if you've seen him do any of the voice acting and all that, when you see footage of him doing it, he has a different stance when he does the voice of Batman. He has a different stance when he does the voice of Bruce. And then he not only does Bruce and Batman, he does other secondary, tertiary, and other characters and all that you don't recognize. It's Kevin Conroy and that. So, I mean, again, he is also the best Batman to stand up against Mark Hamill's Joker. I mean, that is... Yeah. That's why
honestly,
I couldn't...
The 6 we had, none of them could stand up against
Mark
Hamill's Joker. Not even close.
No, for sure. No. But anyways.
Not even Adam West.
Not even Adam West. But that's Kevin Conroy, though, isn't it?
Absolutely, it is.
Yeah, it's Kevin Conroy
Along with
doing the
Mark
video game.
Hamill.
Yeah, the Arkham Asylum and all that video games. Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you want the best, you get the best, and that's Kevin Conroy. So that being said, Kevin Conroy's not on this list, and that's why. Okay. So what we're going to do is, like I said, we're going to let the audience decide over the next little while what it is, and then we'll come back, revisit this, and we'll give an award to whoever. There's a no award to whoever actually has defended their role.
Vote for Conroy.
And then in another 2 weeks, we'll come up with another subject and we'll figure out what we go from there. Maybe we'll make it a little more Halloween themed because it'll be closer to Halloween. And as we tick through the month, we're getting probably some more scarier things. Because I think we might have some horror stuff coming up in the next little while that we might want to look at if anyone is interested in that sort of thing. So that being said, I have just one other thing. We are going to be returning to an old standby, and we are going to reach into our grab bag of Adam Asks. And this is where a friend of the podcast has asked us an inquiry for us to answer on our podcast. And this particular question that Adam asks is, what is your favorite post-credits scene? So I believe we've all been mulling this over for a little while. Mr. Brown, why don't you go first there?
Oh, sure. Throw me under the bus right away.
Okay, then Mr. Gavin, how about you go first then?
I can do it.
Okay, then go ahead.
Well, my favorite post-credit scene, I think, is probably the very first Iron Man. Just the simple fact that almost every Marvel movie we've seen to date has been essentially either trapped in its own sort of cinematic universe. So Fox's X-Men, Fox's Fantastic Four, there was no hint that there was something broader outside of that. Iron Man comes along, and at the very, very end, Tony Stark walks in, and there is Nick Fury sitting there and says he wants to discuss something called the Avengers Initiative. The entire audience I was in basically go, did he just He just said, "Oh shit!" And that was the first post-ending credit that gave me hope that there was going to be much more than what was we just saw.
Okay, I see. Yeah, no, that's a very good point. That's a very good point. Yes, Mr. Brown.
So I'm gonna have two answers for this one, just because the very first movie I ever saw that had a little end sequence after the credits, 1980s Airplane.
Why would you bring that
What
home? Why would
is
you
the
throw in
ending
there?
on that?
The ending is, you go through all the credits, and of course, Airplane had crazy credits like "Hey Diddle Diddle," "Cat in the Fiddle," and then at the very end, we go back to the taxi
Yeah,
that
yeah,
has
yeah,
been driven
yeah,
and
yeah.
is parked over the curb, and the guy is sitting there. And I remember they've done it a whole flight, and he checks his watch. Says, "Give him another 5 minutes." So this guy's been
I
sitting
completely forgot about that. Yeah,
this guy's been sitting in a cab for at least 6 hours while the plane flew from point A to point B. Meters running the whole time. And it was the first time I've been ever introduced to an end credits scene. And so it holds a special place in my heart because my parents finally let me see Airplane. Well, obviously it was a little older. I think it was more my brother got the laser disc. It tells you how long ago that was. And we're watching it, and gets in that we're laughing at the credits, and then it cuts back to that taxi. And I was like, but it was a way of using the end credit scene to wrap up just the tiniest little bit of a story that was still left, that tiny little thread at the end. And yeah, it's always had a nice special place in my heart. Now, for modern films,
These are like the worst gay actors I've ever seen in my life.
exactly.
okay, I'll edit that out of the podcast.
For modern scenes, it would be the Deadpool 2 end credit sequence where he goes back in time and kind of cleans up the whole Deadpool Ryan Reynolds. He's like takes out the Wolverine Deadpool, just me, and then Ryan Reynolds like, it's gonna be a good day. He's reading the Green Lantern script, and you see a blood splatter and the hole in his head, and that was just a great sequence. Deadpool traveling through time, cleaning up the cinematic universe for us. It was one of the funniest ones I've seen. Anyone else?
Okay, so Michael, do you have one? Because seeing Trevor stole the one that I was going to say, but Trevor stole my Deadpool 2 time traveling ending. So, Michael, what do you have to
For
deal with?
myself, the first instinct as far as the Marvel Cinematic Universe goes was Captain America, First Avenger, where he wakes up in modern time and he ends up in Times Square. You realize that he's going to be a part of the Avengers. That moment was epic. However, the one that came to me even more than that was an older movie, Ferris Bueller. And with him, like, wait, why are you still here? The movie's over. Like, go home. And that was probably the first end credit sequence that I actually watched as a little child. And that stuck to me. And then the fact that Ryan Reynolds did that for Deadpool, the same sort of thing. So it, that was fun too. But I have to give this one to Ferris Bueller.
Okay, all right. So we got that as well. And again, the Deadpool endings are fantastic. And like Mike just said, one of my favorites is the rehash of the Ferris Bueller ending, where it's the exact same hallway, even right down to the exact same amount of pictures on the wall. He's wearing the same house coat. Of course, he's saying a little more about like there being a sequel and not knowing if they're going to be able to do it, but who they might get to be in a role or something like that is kind of cool. But again, at the very end of the movie, they come back with what are you still doing here? It's over. Go home. It's just a perfect button on that movie. And again, it's fourth wall breaking, which is fantastic because we've just sat through a whole entire movie. But the fact that he copies the Ferris Bueller's, practically that very final sequence, word for word, and that starts off. And again, the recreation of that upper hallway is so fantastic. And I'm gonna have to, even though it was both both were Deadpool and both were already spoken, I'm going to choose Deadpool as my favorite ending, being the Ferris Bueller takeoff. And again, just because it is so brilliantly done and it is the perfect way to end this particular movie. So it was just a fun ride, and you ended up with an extra. And again, it doesn't really matter whether it is good or not. It's just a reason to stay in the theater longer. These end scenes, I'm glad, are out there. And again, not all of them are going to be winners. Some of them are like, well, who the hell was that? And like everyone's pulling out the phone. Who was that at the end of, or who is this character or whatnot? For example, the first time that Thanos showed up in the end credits, and it was just the profile, and as he turns his head, looks towards the camera and all that. And like, I know there were people in the theater when they saw that and they're like, who's that? Right. I knew, because I knew of the Infinity Gauntlet. I knew about the Infinity Saga and whatnot, but it is a good way to pay tribute to the movie that you just saw, that you're going to sit there through the whole entire thing. Now, again, I've sat through movies thinking, ooh, where's the ending scene? Where's the ending scene? And then the closing credits, and that's it. And then you hear people in the theater going, what? No scene? But again, that's part of the movie-going experience. And the fact that sometimes these final scenes are not even connected to the movie, it's just a extra little bit. There's no, hey, here's another expansion of the universe sort of sequence and all that, which, yes, Marvel does in spades. They do it so beautifully. But again, it's just a fun way to basically thank the audience for sticking around through the credits. And again, you're sitting in a theater, especially a Marvel movie nowadays, and people are getting up as soon as the movie ends. What are you people doing? You know there's at least one more.
Who gets up and leaves halfway through the credits in a Marvel movie? Who?
Yeah, exactly. Those that leave after the first one are like, okay, you know there's going to be another one, right, people? And I mean, 9 out of 10 times there is a final one. But again,
I understand that working in film for animation, it's nice to see your credit roll up on the screen, but there's something very depressing when everybody else leaves and you're just sitting there with your family all by yourself in the theater, just waiting for your little tiny name to scroll up with the hundreds of other people that worked on this movie. So the fact that there's an end credit sequence that will keep everybody around, it's like, hey, everybody's looking at my name with me.
There you go. The psychological.
It's so satisfying.
Yeah.
I mean, half of them are probably looking at their phones, but still.
Yeah. Now, I will say I almost chose the Guardians of the Galaxy 2 end credit scenes because they had 4 at the end of theirs. They had.
That's right. I completely forgot. Oh my God, I didn't even
playing with
that. That's right. There was
the
so
flying
many.
arrow, and then you had the emergence or the creation of Adam Warlock. You had the Ravagers saying that it's time for them to kick some ass, and then you had actually there was 5 because you also had the whole thing with Groot and Peter Quill. But the best one was Stan Lee in the cosmonaut suit talking to the Watchers.
Yeah.
And that was the last appearance of Stan Lee, really. And it kind of made sense why we saw Stan Lee in all those films, because he was the agent that the Watchers were using. So if I had to rank, that would probably be my 3rd favorite of all the credit scenes, just because that last one with Stan Lee was was a nice touch, nice send off.
Yeah, that's true.
And the fact seeing Drax take the arrow in the side of the neck, because and then he just turns and runs away. He's like, ah! I remember sitting in the theater like, if they ended on that one, I would have been happy. And they're like, oh, here comes another one. Oh, here comes another one. Here comes another one. And I could see people filing out. I'm like, what the hell are you people doing? You don't leave until the lights come up. I mean, I saw people leaving at the end of Venom 2. Like, they start the credits, I'm like, what? Okay, well.
That's the other thing, too. It wasn't even like freaking Venom 2 was a long movie. I mean, it was a relatively short movie.
It is a short movie, but I'm like, yeah, the second the first credit starts rolling on the screen, there was like people getting up left and right, and I'm like, you people haven't been to superhero movies ever, have you?
Yeah.
Like, there's always an end credit scene.
Alrighty then. That being said, I think everyone's had their saying all that. Yes, sort of thing. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yep. All right. So thank you, Mr. Adam, for that one. Look forward to the next one next time we gather and all that. And then basically what we're going to do is we're going to come to the conclusion of this particular episode. Thank you for sticking around for this silliness that we called a podcast. And hopefully you enjoyed yourselves. I know that, I personally had fun tonight. I'm pretty sure everyone else had some fun tonight.
Yes,
Again,
indeed.
guys, silence doesn't really help a podcast. Quit. Okay, no, I am
No.
I am not.
Sliding
No,
down the bat pole.
the video. The video will show. The video will show that 3 of the people on this podcast just tweaked their own nipples.
Well, it's not like I can tweak your
Vote for
nipples.
Clooney.
Come on.
Vote
The only
for
nipples
Clooney.
I have in reach. Jeez.
Well,
All
there's a
right,
cat
so-
down
At the end of the day, that's still a screen we can't get through.
Yeah. Alrighty then. So on the count of 3, collective goodbye, gentlemen. On
Sure.
the count of 3, 1, 2, 3. Collective
Collective
goodbye. All right, it's getting
Getting
better.
better.
At that. Yeah.
Only took
was
us
almost
22
in sync.
episodes to
Like
get
you
here.
said, yeah, exactly. You said about 30, I think, originally.
You have just been listening to Geeking Off the Page with your hosts, Mike Kitchen, Gavin Burbage, Trevor Brown, and Troy Bowman. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Also, if you could leave us a rating and comment, that would assist in allowing others to find this podcast more easily. You can follow the podcast on the following social platforms: Instagram and Twitter, search for @PlanetGeekPod, all one word. On Facebook, search for Planet Geek Productions. Or you can send us an email to planetgeekpod@gmail.com. Buy the guys a coffee by going to Ko-Fi, ko-fi.com/planetgeekpod. And know that any and all donations will go towards improving all current and future Planet Geek Productions programs. Thank you for listening.
Welcome, geeks. My name is Troy, and you know what? That's how it's going to end.
I'm Mike Kitchen, and I am Batman.
Okay, stop.
I'm Trevor Brown.
Stop. I think we should all do that, actually. I think we should all do the I am Batman. I think that is probably going to be the best way to do this particular episode. Thank you, Mike, for that. I'm totally starting over. If everyone's okay with that. Is everyone okay with that? I know you can save it for next week, Trevor. Whatever you have, if you have something fantastic.
I will
you can save
remember
next
it for next week.
Okay,
I'm
Trevor,
old.
say it out loud right now so we all remember what it is.
I'm cold and alone, and there's wolves outside.
I think we should do the I'm Batman though.
All right.
Okay, all right.